This episode of the Nerf Herder Council is brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerf Herder Council.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking Nerf herder!
You can't use that word! Only we can use that word!
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate. Featuring your hosts, JT.
Stormtrooper armor deflects everything except Orback hooves. They're like a horse version of Thomas the Tank Engine.
AJ.
Yeah, Rebels is a lot like our show, where we think we have a good idea and then it just fails in execution.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, it's Attack of the Clones versus Revenge of the Sith, as JT and our good friend Spencer Jawitz of the Virtual Cantina Network debate which is the better prequel.
This is the Nerf Herder Council.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, not only on our own pages, but also the pages of the Virtual Cantina Network. Quick disclaimer here. The opinions of the Nerf Herder Council do not necessarily reflect those of the Virtual Cantina Network, and there might be some cursing on this show. So if that offends you, turn this shit off right now. But anyways, guys, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. If you would like to get customizable Nerf Herder Council swag, just go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. If you would like to get Virtual Cantina Network swag, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina. And if you are watching on YouTube on either of our channels, please click that like button, click that subscribe button, and smash the notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. Without further ado, he is finally here. He's, as usual, running on AJ time. He is my brother and my co-host. AJ, what is up, man?
I'm having technical difficulties. That is what's up.
Yeah, you are. You're on your laptop mic instead of your plugged-in mic.
Yeah, because for some reason this thing won't show up as an input device.
Oh, so what you need is a computer reboot.
Yeah, good times, right? We'll get through it. That's all right. I'm not going to be doing most of the talking on this episode anyway.
That is true. So before... Yeah, Horse said, please stand by. Exactly. All right, so before we bring our special guest on real quick, this is going to be fun because this whole episode was born out of a single comment in the chat in our last episode. And I forget what the hell we were talking about, but somehow the prequels came up. And our very good friend, Spencer Jawitz, made the comment that Attack of the Clones is the best of the prequels. And I said, over Revenge of the Sith, like you're joking, right? And he said, no, I'm serious. And I said, well, I know what our next episode is going to be. So,
well, it has a well-documented intro. Can't trust everything he says.
Well, that is very true. That is very true. You might seriously want to dump out and reboot because your mic's also cutting out. So we're not getting very good audio from you. So this is beautiful. Typical Nerf Herder Council bullshit already. Oh my gosh. Well, let's bring him on. You know him, you love him. He is one of the heads of the Virtual Cantina Network, and it was actually his idea to bring us onto the network. So you might hate him. Who knows? Maybe that's a bad thing. Spencer, what is up, man? It's always good to see you, brother.
It's glad. I'm very glad to be on the show. And yes, so the everything that's said here may or may not be disclaimer. What the virtual Cantina is known for. So I'm just, I don't necessarily represent virtual Cantina, but I might at the same time. So yeah, well, if you don't like it, F y'all. No, I'm kidding. Happy to be here, John. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Sorry for AJ's technical difficulties. He actually is a CrossFit coach, and he volunteered to cover a class tonight, coaching, and completely forgot it was going to be a show night. So he's been running around trying to do all kinds of stuff on the fly. So there you go. But he will be back. He's going to reboot, and he will help moderate this discussion. And it really is a discussion, as much as, we can call it like a knockdown, drag out, all this kind of stuff. I think it's a very interesting discussion, and I think it starts with the fact that you feel that Attack of the Clones is the best of the prequels, which is not a very common opinion. So I'm really looking forward to this, man. I'm looking forward to this. This is one of those discussions that we have at Celebration, you and I, and now we're bringing it to the masses.
Something it's to me personally, there's only one Star Wars movie that I particularly think is my least favorite, and I think is like the worst. But it's still, I'll watch all 11 movies. Don't get me wrong. I will watch anything Star Wars. I'll find something good, and I'll find something I can't stand about every single one, including Empire, which is my number one, movie. It just happens. We all love, you and I had many a conversation about how much we love Last Jedi. I was very much involved in your conversation that I love that for a multitude of reasons, because it was different. It was something that was not the same grain, and it was something that made you think. And to me, it was the perfect, movie for our generation who initially, loved everything that was going on, but needed something a little bit more cerebral, which is kind of why I actually kind of really also loved Andor, because we got the adult Star Wars that we were dying for. And then Last Jedi kind of like was a different aspect to that. So I like Star Wars as a whole, and I'm very excited about this conversation because Star Wars, especially the prequels, people don't remember when the prequels came out. If we had Twitter or X or more social media than AOL chat rooms back in the 90s, George would not have made another movie after Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah.
He would have been lambasted. Because people were saying all the time, he's lost touch with reality. He doesn't know his own creation. These are direct quotes, that he should sell off the property. And, people hate Jar Jar. And I'll be the first person to also say, as well, I was not a huge prequel fan initially, as well as an OT fan. But it took Celebration 2019 Chicago to see the love that Ahmed Best got, the standing ovation he got in the Phantom Menace panel, for me to actually say, one, the kids of the prequels are now the parents bringing their kids to Celebration. Mm-hmm. This is no longer my Star Wars. This is their Star Wars. My ego needs to be put in check. And then I went back and rewatched the movies with new appreciation and love for even Phantom Menace, for all of them. But I have to say, when we get into the debates, I'll explain my position on it all. I am a big Sith. I will not dog Sith at all. But there's reasons behind why I love clones so much. But the fact is that we all have our gateway into Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And no matter where it is, you can find appreciation if you're coming in. I know people who came in during Clone Wars, the cartoon. People came in during Rebels. Some people came in during Resistance. So everybody has an endpoint at one particular time, and there's not one that's better than the other. But there's stuff there's movies that are better than the next one. This is the debate of Star Wars in the prequels versus, honestly, the sequels. It's going to go on for a very long time. And I'm very excited that we can at least take the road of, episodes 2 and episode 3 as opposed to 8 and 9, because I honestly feel that more of us would jump on 8 than 9, but
right. Exactly. Well, real quick for AJ, how's your mic? Are we fixed? Are we?
Yeah, I think it is.
There we go. Close enough. A couple quick comments from the chat here. We always love when people in the chat jump in here. Ashley Branzo says, "Oh my God, Spencer, language." Peter Smith says, "Hello, folks. Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning into the show." Aaron Waldron says, "Jawitz brings the hits. He always does. He always does." And our very good friend, Mr. Cale McLeish, says, "Hi, Spencer. Admiral Akbar called. He told me to tell you that this is a trap." Oh, my gosh. Yeah. So
and we all know what happened to Akbar in Last Jedi, so.
Okay. I llove that movie, but I don't love that part. So
look, at least he had the courtesy to die. He wasn't Gary Poppins.
There you go. Yeah. Pour one out for our homie, the Admiral. Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting conversation, I think, because, you and I talked briefly off air before we jumped on live. And this isn't a case of, one of us loves the one movie and hates the other, and you are on opposite sides of the fence. It's, we both really love both of these movies. And for me, we talked about it a little bit, but I think Attack of the Clones is criminally underrated. You mentioned, people's gateway to Star Wars and things. And one of the things that I always come back to is when The Force Awakens came out, so many people said, "Oh, this feels like Star Wars. This feels like Star Wars. The prequels didn't feel like Star Wars." And I will debate that till the cows come home. When I saw the prequels in the theater, I was like, this is Star Wars. I absolutely loved them. I was a prequel fan from the rip. I thought, Phantom Menace is one of those things when it came out, I was like, yeah, people aren't going to like this, but I did. I thought it was cool. Attack of the Clones, I think, is the most potentially it's the most unique movie in the saga, I think, because it's not just a straight adventure. It's more like a mystery, like a whodunit. They're trying to find the killer and all this other kind of thing. And I loved it. I had such a blast seeing that movie in the theater. Right. But then Revenge of the Sith came out, and it blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind. So that is my favorite Star Wars movie. And I think, as a result, it's the best of the prequels for me. And I'm looking forward to getting into this. So, it should be interesting. AJ, you actually kind of bowed out pretty quickly when we came up with this idea, because you were like, you know what? I don't know where I'm going to fall, so I'm going to kind of moderate a little bit. So explain that a little bit.
Well, really, it's born out of an admission that between you and Spencer, how to get a word in edgewise is damn near impossible. So I'm just not really going to try. It's really down to that. I don't know where three of us would fit in this conversation. So I'm just going to jump in with whatever points seem to make sense at the time. But I'm not picking a side on this one.
So are you do you have an opinion as to which one is the best of the prequels?
I think that sorry, Spencer. I think that Revenge of the Sith is an overall better movie. I think it looks better. But 2 was a big swing, and I always like taking risks. So there was a whole lot in Attack of the Clones that was different from Phantom Menace and different from what Sith brought to the table. So I give it credit for that. Well, not all experiments are successful.
Well, we do have someone getting banned from the chat right off the rip. We're only a few minutes into the show. Bruce Neihart says, "I was wondering what one of these movies would have been better with Purgles." So let me pull up.
No. Bryce, I'm good with them. I'm good with Bryce.
They'd be clones.
But this is my show, Spencer. And see, the views of the Nerf Herder Council don't necessarily reflect those of the Virtual Cantina Network. So guess what, Virtual Cantina Network? Read my banner at the bottom. Purgles suck. We will not discredit or crap on these movies and sully them with Purgle.
That's true, Spencer. That cuts both ways. That the views of the Nerf Herder Council don't necessarily represent the views of the Virtual Cantina Network, then the views of the Virtual Cantina Network do not necessarily represent the views of the Nerf Herder Council.
There we go. But I do.
Well,
I
you know
do
what they say.
appreciate it,
You know what they say. You know what they say. JT, live long and suck it.
well played. And I got to give Bryce credit. He gave me an opportunity to use my awesome Purgle banner at the bottom of the screen. So I always look forward to using that. So there you go. All right. So Spencer,
if you're using the virtual Cantina network, we allow you to hawk the Trek. So
hey, AJ hawks Trek on our show all the time.
Exactly.
We will not tell you to get the hell off our land if you hawk Trek. So there we go.
Spencer, you need to make that a T-shirt on the Virtual Cantina Network shop. Live long and suck it.
Shirt. Yeah, well, I want to get that, which is actually a quote from Big Bang Theory. But we also have a T-shirt on the Virtual Cantina TeePublic that says, "Friends don't let friends hawk the Trek."
you know, Mark Truax is disagreeing with you. He says, "No, we don't." What's up, Mark? Good to see you, man. All right, so you are our guest, and I'm your host. There's a Blazing Saddles reference for you. So I will let you go first because I thought it was a very interesting comment to say that Attack of the Clones is the best of the prequels. Give a brief explanation, and then we can delve into specific points.
Wait, the sheriff is near? Okay.
No, tag blame it.
The sheriff's a nit. No, I'm sorry. We can go off in that. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that might get you banned.
That's a whole other episode. Yes,
that'd be fantastic. Okay, so here's my reasons why I think initially my opening statement. For years, before we even got the prequels, pardon me, we heard about how Anakin became Vader and that he potentially fell into a volcano. And that was the storyline that we potentially heard, is that he fell into a volcano. Okay, now think about this. Revenge of the Sith is the Titanic of Star Wars. Now, what do I say about that? We know the ending before we walk in. Anakin is going to become Darth Vader. Right there. You know exactly what is going to happen. But you don't know the why. Now, here's the thing. Attack of the Clones, you learn so much of how things got started. Because, honestly, you got brought in with Phantom Menace, but you don't know, except for like little nuances in Phantom Menace, like, for example, Anakin leaving Shmi. And then the scene during the funeral pyre of Qui-Gon. Well, do we get who? Do we get the apprentice or the master? And it pans over to Ian. And young Anakin, young Skywalker, I'll watch your career with great, interest. Okay, you've got some foreshadowing there. But what really kicks off the downward spiral of Anakin Skywalker? What brought him to where he is in Sith? You need that middle movie. That middle movie is Attack of the Clones. And there's many reasons why I think it's a better movie. I love Sith, but that was good for an ending. I am more interested in the why Anakin got to where he is. And Sith, if you're following the storyline of the protagonist, Anakin Skywalker, you can't get to Sith without Clones. And to me, that's why Clones is a better movie.
Okay. All right. Well, I will start by, bringing up a point that you made. And you
Purgle's awesome. Yes, I got it.
Damn it, ban him. But I mean, you said that, in Revenge of the Sith, we already know the ending. We know he's going to be Vader. We just don't know the why. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I love this movie so much and why I think it is the best of the three, because you do already know the ending, and yet it still was an amazing journey to get there. I thought it was written very intelligently. It wasn't, I've always said about the prequels, it's not just Anakin's a jerky little kid, snot teenager, now he's super bad, now he's the baddest guy ever. It's not just this stupid, video game jump level to level to level. it's there's a motivation there. There's something emotional there, and I love that. And for them to take a story where where it ends, which is interesting. You mentioned Titanic because we know how that ends. To take a story where how it ends, but still make it a satisfying journey, and still have that ending carry weight and depth and feeling it's incredible to me. And I absolutely love that about the story. And I think, as much as I love Clones because I love the story that it tells, again, it's to me, that movie's almost like a whodunit. It's like a mystery. It's very different from all the other Star Wars films. As much as I love that, every single time I watch Revenge of the Sith, I am struck by the fact that we last see, in a 2-hour and 20-minute movie, we last see Anakin and Obi-Wan together only about 40 minutes into the movie, 45, something like that. And also the fact that every time I watch it, like goodbye, old friend, when, there's splitting up, I always find myself going, oh man, don't turn. The way they tell that story, it just grabbed me the first time I saw it, and it still grabs me. It just absolutely still gets me. And I still have that little part of me going, oh man, why has he got to turn? Why has he got to do this, man? Why has he got to do that? So I love it for that reason. I love it. All right, AJ, did I win or did Spencer win? You have to judge.
This isn't Iowa, man. I don't have to do that.
Well played.
Here we go. I'm topical. Is this what I get to do? I get to pick who has the better argument?
Star Wars, man. There's no politics in Star Wars.
I love it.
Oh, my God. Okay.
AJ,
okay. I don't even know. Oh man. Okay. I'm discovering my own bias towards Revenge of the Sith in this, because Spencer, as much as I get your points in terms of story, like Revenge of the Sith wouldn't make sense without Attack of the Clones coming before, because the linchpin of the whole thing is Anakin's love for Padme. If you don't see his relationship with Padme grow from kid and handmaiden to, adults who are married and she's pregnant, you're kind of like, well, feel like I've missed something here. However, I don't think you can deny that the execution leaves a little something to be desired there. The story was written, but a part of a movie is the execution of the story. So I think that's where Attack of the Clones might be a little deficient. However, to your point, though, like you said, Revenge of the Sith is kind of like Titanic, where you do know the end point. So it's the hardest thing with any trilogy is to be the end chapter, because you know what's going to happen. Like, you knew walking into Return of the Jedi that the rebels had to win and the Emperor had to lose. And you walk into Revenge of the Sith and you know that Anakin becomes Darth Vader. It was in the damn marketing for the thing. So you're not going to get any surprises in terms of story. All you can do is hope that it plays out in a satisfying fashion. And I think in that sense, I think Revenge of the Sith executed better on its story than Attack of the Clones executed on its story.
I'm not going to dispute that about execution, but you're also talking about known versus unknown expectations. We kind of knew what to expect going into Sith. We did not know where we were going to go into Clones. And the thing is that with a good, solid middle movie, whether it's any of the trilogies, or if you want to go into like Back to the Future, talk about movies in the second act of the film, you will know where things will go. Now, I'll flat out say, unfortunately, they jumped the shark with Episode 9. If they kept Colin Trevorrow's original Duel of the Fates script, I know there's a lot of issues behind the scenes on that, but if they used Colin Trevorrow's script, the whole storyline of the sequel trilogy would have made a lot more sense. I felt that we can go off and on Rise all we want. But the thing about Clones is that it made us very excited about what was going on. Like Jeff was saying right there, we're in the era right now where Dave Filoni is a huge fan of the Clone Wars. And you're seeing that in Ahsoka. You're seeing that in the Mandoverse going on right now. I mean, regardless if you liked or did not like Ahsoka, John, those scenes in episode 5 of Ahsoka, when he went to the Clone Wars, a fan of the prequels, you were like, this is live action. And that only would have happened because of Attack of the Clones. So a lot of what the core of what Filoni is doing right now, because the meat of his stuff was Clone Wars. He came in because of Clone Wars to start the cartoon, which is based around this movie. Now, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm just saying is that we know Anakin is the main focus of everything that's going on. But where Star Wars is currently, as far as at least the Disney Plus is directly impacted because of the timeline around clones.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And, Aaron Waldron says, Filoni gave us the context that made Attack of the Clones epic. And I don't dispute that at all. But I think that speaks, for me, it speaks again to the strength of Revenge of the Sith, because Revenge of the Sith didn't need that. I don't think there were people going, Revenge of the Sith is okay. And then they see some Clone Wars stuff and they go, okay, now it's awesome. It didn't need something to bolster it, I think. I mean, honestly, personally, for me, I never thought that Attack of the Clones needed bolstering. The backstory is really cool. And I think, it was a very, very intelligent decision to make that show, because once you get the Clone Wars going, I think everybody who saw those battles and knew the Clone Wars weren't like, just like, Gettysburg, like a 3-day thing, a 3-day skirmish, they wanted more of that. And so I think to provide more of the Clone Wars and then also show the battles and the different characters, I thought was just a brilliant decision. So I love it for that aspect of it. But I think Revenge of the Sith is so powerful all on its own. To me, there's just a power to that movie that it's just, the word I would use is weighty. It's a very weighty movie. It's like, me versus AJ. AJ's lean and in shape and everything, and I'm a big fat bastard, and I've got more weight. That was so it's just
round
meat on the bone.
Round is a shape.
I am down 7.5 pounds since January 1st, so that's good. But hey, what can I say? I still have like 80 more to go. But anyway, yeah, I just it's such a weighty movie, and I've always loved that about it. And again, this is such a weird conversation because you make such great points, and it's like I when I think about these movies, I'm like, I love them both, and it's hard to kind of say, yeah, well, here's why I like the other one better, because I don't generally. Horse head, get in my belly.
By the way, that's Jeff Caffrey.
Oh, there. Okay, what's up, Jeff? There we go. He changed it on me. Horsehead. Okay. But yeah,
that's his nickname.
Okay. Yeah, I have never sat down and actually thought about, which one, if I had to say which is the best. I never thought about it before because I love all of them. So it's interesting to come at it from this angle. So
there's two points I want to bring up right now that I think can be pointed and counterpointed, but are some of the most pimp shit that we got in Star Wars overall. First thing I'm going to say, seismic effing charges.
I'll give you that.
I don't care where you are, you pop huge for a seismic charge.
Yes. My wife, my wife loves them. Yep.
When we got
and
the seismic charge,
also getting to see
Mandalorian. Yeah.
Also, getting to see
Well,
the
yes,
prisoners with jobs won. That was awesome.
Yeah. But the second thing I would do, first time ever, we see Yoda with a lightsaber go completely freaking ham, and at the end of the battle, grabs his cane and then slowly meanders like typical Yoda after he just went completely nuts with Count Dooku. That was the first time we saw Yoda in live action using a lightsaber.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because Mark Truex, I think AJ was right. He can't get a word in. Mark, in fairness, I told him jump in at any time. So he's free to jump in. So, I mean, then, I will direct this question to you, AJ, because Spencer, you bring up a very good point, and it's something I've never understood from detractors of Attack of the Clones. I still see a lot of people saying that Yoda in the Dooku fight was goofy, and it was I can't fathom it. Like I just like when that happened, when I was in the theater watching that movie, I was like, holy shit, are we gonna get Yoda kicking ass? And I was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, AJ, I don't know how you felt, but how could somebody not like that? That was awesome.
Get it. I don't get it. I loved it. I love the idea. I've always said this. Like, I always thought, like, once you reach the rank of Jedi Master, like the Emperor or like Yoda, you've moved beyond lightsabers. You don't need them anymore. Your Force skills have evolved beyond simple swordplay like that. So when you do decide to bust that thing out, you should be a friggin' legend with that thing. And that's exactly what we got.
Yep.
That's why even as goofy as it looked in Revenge of the Sith when Sidious goes ham, I still thought it was okay because it plays with my headcanon very well that they got bored of lightsaber play a long time ago and they found more powerful ways to use the Force than that. So don't give them a lightsaber because they will absolutely fucking kick your ass.
Well, yeah, and Aaron Waldron makes a good point. He says that was epic. How can you have Yoda as some badass with no context? Aaron, I completely agree. And the thing with the Emperor too, like, how are you going to sit there and tell us that these guys are two of the most unbelievable warriors we've ever seen, but they're going to move around like the Obi-Wan Vader fight in Episode 4, just kind of like hacking away at each other in slow motion? Like, no, it would completely strain credulity, especially after you've seen the Battle of Geonosis and all the crazy stuff that the Jedi are doing. What, Yoda's all of a sudden going to suck, and the Emperor is just what's it going to be, like an arthritis battle? It's going to be like the like the Aleve Bowl. I mean, what is that? Like, no, they have to kick ass, man. I mean, geez.
I mean, you just brought up a good point. It was on my list. The Battle of Geonosis, right there alone. You got hundreds of lightsabers fighting right there. We don't see that many lightsabers in any movie or TV show. So to me alone, even with the comic elements of the C-3PO and the Reek and all that, you get so many freaking lightsabers in that scene. And you think that the battle droids and the Geonosians are going to get the Jedis, and who saves the day? MF and Yoda coming in with the clones right there alone. That in itself is pretty badass, and people still talk about that particular battle.
I could not agree with you more. I've gotten in so many arguments with people who have tried to say that they thought it was cheesy that the prequels, especially Episode 2 with the Battle of Geonosis, cheapens the Jedi because it was more cool when there's like one or two of them. And I just can't subscribe to that. For me, my favorite aspect of Star Wars outside of Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon is the Jedi and the Force. And I love that. And to see the Jedi in their heyday and a whole bunch of them, I think it adds to their lore, because they had been built up throughout the original trilogy as being the warriors of the galaxy. They kept everything in balance, yada yada. Well, now we see, okay, that makes sense, because if you're just supposed to sit there and believe that like 3 guys kept the whole damn galaxy in check, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But when you see there's a whole bunch of them, and they can fight not beyond just using the Force, I think that was awesome. So I loved it, man. I mean, and AJ, I'm pretty sure you're on the same team as I am with that. But if I remember right, you actually kind of do subscribe a little bit to the whole, it might be a little much school of thought. Am I wrong in saying that, or?
No, I think you guys are right on. That battle was amazing, and seeing that many Jedi all at once, it's the sort of thing like you hear mentioned and referenced, and you get this idea that it happened based on the way the Clone Wars were spoken of in the original trilogy, and other mentions of how like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan refer to the lore of the Jedi in Phantom Menace. So to actually see it and we all as Star Wars fans wanted to see that at some point, rather than like, here's a one-on-one lightsaber battle. But what if it was like a 50 on 200 lightsaber battle? What would that look like?
With a bunch of
now
bugs.
We know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they're cutting bugs down with it. So you don't even feel bad for the other side. It's all robots and bugs. Kill as many of them as you want. We don't care.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. And I think, Spencer, you make excellent points with those two things, with Yoda and the million Jedi. I've never understood people that.
Hold on.
Okay.
Aaron, you're going to get banned. Okay. If you mess with my boy Kit, you will get banned. All right. We do not take any Fisto shaming here. All right. You'll get the Fisto.
That is a very not well known rule on the Nerf Herder Council. We do not bash Kit Fisto. That is AJ's dude. So that is a no-no. That is a no-no.
Although he did look wonky. Okay, that's a point. That's a point for clones. He looks awesome in clones, and he looks wonky as hell, and goes out like a chump in Revenge of the Sith.
See,
I don't know what they did with his look and his makeup for the third movie, but oh my god, he looked creepy as hell.
Yeah.
I loved his origin story in Men in Black.
Nice. The very first Men in Black reference in the history of the Nerf Herder Council, and it's Spencer. Well played. Yeah, I mean,
maybe we got the Mind Flasher thing, because I know I've seen those movies, but I don't remember a damn thing about them. Maybe we should watch those. Maybe that's another future topic for us.
Look, instead of Where's Waldo, where's Kit Fisto? We'll do that with Men in Black.
Yeah.
And I will say this, Spencer. That would be a point in your favor. Clones over Revenge of the Sith. When when they go to arrest Palpatine, I get it. They have to get to the whole Mace Windu Palpatine thing quickly, but man, did those other three guys go out like bitches. It's like, come on, man, really? Like,
there's no doubt that, but let's talk a little bit about Palpatine.
I mean, at least they're not Eve Cobb.
Palpatine, yeah.
Right.
Well,
okay, so
that's a deep cut. If you don't know your Star Wars Lego figures, that's the guy who got shot and fell over the edge in the Geonosian arena in Attack of the Clones. He was the first Jedi death.
He's like, yeah, the whale looking, not whale, but he's like got the fin on his head guy.
Yep.
Okay. That is a deep cut. Good for you. All right, Spencer, you were saying Palpatine.
So let's do the Palpatine.
I might have that Lego figure.
You saw him slowly but surely start to get, in Phantom Menace. Like I said, he was fringe, but he's got his claws into Anakin pretty well in Clones. You also see how he manipulates Padme, how he manipulates the Jedi Council, and I'm sorry, but who else would have that kind of radical idea to give me the most amount of power? Let's pan over the Jar Jar. So there alone, you see Palpatine's entire plan, and talking about it's one of the first times you hear the name Darth Sidious when you're on Camino, from Jango Fett. So you get the seeds of Lord Tyrannus, Sidious, Sifo-Dyas. You really get the meat of what Palpatine is doing in Clones. Because all the time, even in Sith, you see, obviously Order 66 with the 501st. Obviously you see like all the different garrisons and all that, and you see his plan come to fruition, but you get to see the motivation behind it in Clones.
Am I the only one that's still a little unclear on the whole Sifo Dyas and like what happened with the Order of the Clones and who knew what and when and all that kind of stuff?
I always thought that would make a great.
I heard that they were going to expound on that in Sith, but George scrapped it in favor of focusing more on Anakin's downfall.
I think that would make an awesome standalone movie, because I think that's something that, there is still confusion about.
That does feel like the Rogue One of the prequel trilogy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. That's a very excellent way to put it. It's an untold story that I think a lot of people would want to have some background on.
Yeah, the season 6 arc in Clone Wars didn't really hit on it very well.
Yeah,
I see a blank face there, JT. That means you haven't seen those episodes, have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I've only watched.
It doesn't really clarify anything, is my point.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, Spencer, to your point about Palpatine, and I love the build up in Attack of the Clones as well. I mean, it's cool to see. You're right, like him just completely abusing, Jar Jar's naivety to, get that ball rolling was awesome. I think my only complaint about that was that it was a little obvious. I think that would have been a little more heavy hitting if it would have been somebody that, I hate to phrase it this way, but has a clue, somebody a little more powerful. Like if it had been like Bail Organa or somebody like that, or, somebody a little more powerful, you'd be like, wow, he manipulated that guy. But I do love how they do set it up. I mean, it's really cool. And by the way, real quick on that, between Palpatine in episode 2 and episode 3, why does he look so much more old in episode 2 as opposed to episode 3? It's weird. Like if you go back and watch it, like the opening scenes in his office and Clones, you're like, good Lord, he's getting old, but then he looks back to normal. In episode 3.
Spencer, do you have information on that? I want to say it was something where like they were trying to show like that the seat and also his descent further into Sithdom was like weighing on him in episode 2.
I mean, there was always a talk that, whether or not when he was hit with the Force lightning, with Mace Windu, was he showing his true form? Is he considered like a Nosferatu of the Sith? There's all these different theories of his look. But the thing is that even if you go and look, going back to Phantom Menace, when he's walking around with the Ryan Galaxy takes a toll on you. I mean, okay, so look at Beru, look at Owen, look at Fennec Shand, look at those characters, and then you all of a sudden you see what happens to Ben Kenobi in 20 years. Maybe it's a Tatooine sun, maybe it's the stress. I don't know. It ages you. Yeah.
And, yeah, it's on the screen. So this is for all of our audio viewers out there. It's on the screen currently on the live feed. Yeah, I mean, look at this. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like they really,
I think they just reversed creative directions. There's no in-universe explanation.
Honest to God, you know what I always kind of saw it as? I always wondered, Aaron Waldron, like a wrinkled sack. Nice. I really honestly thought that it was done because they were trying to show that like kind of the opposite of what you said, AJ, that like as he sank deeper into the dark side, it kind of rejuvenated him to embrace, be able to like expose the evil more prominently. And honestly, like that's why I prefer Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith, is because his path is pretty straight. You can tell you know where it's going, but like I said earlier about how Anakin just doesn't go, in this linear path of be a bigger jerk until he's the most evil guy in the galaxy. Like Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith does do that. It's like he starts out kind of like, okay, he's about to break out of this shell, and then he does. And I think it's the perfect foil for Anakin. And I love that they did that because Anakin is struggling so hard not to succumb to his, worst impulses. And Palpatine is like pushing and pushing and pushing. And it just, I think it causes that conflict in that internal struggle for Anakin. He's like, I have to be good. He said, it's not the Jedi way. And, stuff like that. And I think that it adds to the emotional weight of the story because he finally has an outlet to just give in to your hate and all that kind of stuff, but he's got this outlet and he's resisting, and Palpatine just keeps getting worse and worse and pushing harder and harder. And I love that. It's a perfect foil for what's going on with Anakin for me.
But to that point as well, look at Anakin. What have I done?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I'll go. Seconds later, there's like a complete switch. It's like, what have I done? Okay, tell me what to do. I'll do it. It's like,
yeah, that never really sat well with me either, Spencer.
Transition. What was that?
Yeah, that never sat well with me either. And one moment he's like, oh shit, what did I do? Hey, what else do you want me to do?
Well, I mean, to me, I was just
killed a Jedi. Wait, you want me to kill all the Jedi? Okay.
Well, I think at that point he realized that he was at a point of no return, and I just think it was
who, George or Anakin?
Don't be an ass.
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Good point, Spencer. Good point. Yeah, no, I just think it was, he realized that he finally crossed that line that he could not return from, and this was his only route to getting what he wanted. And he's like, look, man, the Jedi aren't going to take me back. I just frickin' killed Mace Windu. I killed one of our two main leaders. Like, what are the... Oh, it's okay. Kids will be kids, So it's, I just... It happens quickly. I will give you that. But Aaron Waldron, I love it. See, this gets you bonus points on the show. Master Skywalker, can my treat be a hug? Quoting Robot Chicken Star Wars or Family Guy Star Wars is always good for
Aaron also just tagged the little boy who said the line in episode 2. I mean, in Sith.
See, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that you know that.
That's super inside baseball. Yeah. Nice callback there.
Inside baseball. Nice.
But
okay, so let's talk about let's try to put a little structure to this here because it's cool to point out all the highlights and cool stuff in each movie. But let's try to step through this a little bit and give it a little bit of structure here. I'll try to play moderator. So better intro. You got the intro scene of Attack of the Clones where it actually pans up to the planet and the ship comes in upside down. It's the only time in the saga that happens. Versus the battle over Coruscant with the war drums and the Jedi starfighters zooming in over the Venators to expose the entire battle below.
Oh, dude.
I would give it to Sith in that capacity. Okay. Absolutely Sith. You go right into the shit. Right there.
Well, that's one of the coolest looking scenes in all of Star Wars. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was in the theater the first time, Spencer, I mean, AJ and I we saw the Midnight Movie when that came out in 2005. And you get the boom, 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 and you get the two ships and then all of a sudden they dive over the side and you're like, whoa, man. That was one of those holy shit moments in Star Wars. So
no, I agree with you there. It's in that capacity, it's Sith because you're right in the fray. There was no effing around at that point.
Yeah.
But which one do you think sets the tone better for the movie to follow?
I'm going to say Clones.
Yeah, I'll say Clones because the thing is you have a certain expectation with Sith that you expect to be balls to the wall from beginning to end because you are jumped in the fray, whereas you're taking a little bit more on a story journey in Clones.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Spencer. I think, when the ship blew up on the landing pad in Clones, you're like, okay, well, we're already getting into something like what the hell just happened? And that's kind of like the theme of the movie. Like, what the hell happened? Let's go figure this out. Let's, again, solve this mystery. Whereas, you know, Revenge of the Sith, you start out with this epic, monstrous, you know, gargantuan space battle, but the movie wasn't about some gargantuan, massive thing. You know, it's a very personal, singular story of someone, you know, succumbing to the dark side. So, you know. So yeah, I would say Attack of the Clones.
Okay. Soundtrack.
Oh, dude,
I can see some
Revenge of the Sith all the way.
Okay, I mean, I can think of some real highlights in both movies. So
yeah, there's highlights in both movies. Obviously, the iconic of when you got the Frankenstein scene of, you know, Anakin getting the helmet finally putting on, and you finally hear the Imperial March before you hear the sound of the breathing. I mean, that's iconic. You can't say that. However, you know, the strings and the woodwinds that you're getting during the wedding scene at the end of Clones, like, it gets you. You know, it's like you got the horizon of Lake Como right there. I had to plug Lake Como because, you know, I was there instead of being with you guys at Celebration in Anaheim.
Right.
But you know, there are scenes. The music, John Williams does a banger of a job in everything he does. Like, whether or not, you know, like in Solo, he only did one song in it, and it was some of the most memorable from there. So it's hard to say what is more. If you want to go, what was more iconic? I'll go Sith in that capacity because, you know, you hear the breathing and you got the Imperial March in a slow motion, but
that's not the first instance of the Imperial March. That happens in Clones,
right? But I'm just saying, but it's still very powerful. But also, someone teased it. Unfortunately, it was in a TikTok video. Is that if you take the celebration on Naboo at the end of Phantom Menace, slow it down, change the chord progression.
Minor
it's
key.
The Imperial March.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it's not the Imperial March, Spencer. It's the Emperor's theme.
Oh yeah, the Emperor's theme. Yeah, that's what I meant. So right there alone, you're like,
yeah.
Good for you, AJ.
So so really right there alone, you're talking about last. So there's key elements in all. I mean, that blew my mind. Honestly, when I heard that, I was like, they were pandering between the two. I was like, oh crap. But like I said, I mean, I'll give the edge in that to Sith, but not by much. Not by much.
For me, it's an easy choice, and I say that
Across the Stars written for Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones?
Oh God, see, I'm terrible with the song titles. I am awful.
It's the love theme.
Oh, that would be Clones then.
Oh, that was Clones. That was written for Clones.
All right, I'd put that right up there with. Come on, why am I blanking on the Darth Maul song? Come on now.
Duel of the Fates, really?
Yeah, Duel of the Fates. Yeah, as far as like iconic Star Wars.
Wow.
I mean, wow. JT, okay. you've played enough of Lego Star Wars. How many times do you hear that song and you're like, oh yeah, this takes me back?
All right. Let me ask you a question. All right. Let's give you a question. Opening panel, Anaheim 2022. Which one would have got you harder? The Across the Stars, or the fact that you had live Duel of Fates with a freaking choir there with a red hue? I mean, I'm sorry, I have to go Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, AJ.
Well, I'm not comparing the two songs. I'm just saying, as far as like in the lexicon of Star Wars songs that you can like actually know the names of and stuff, Across the Stars is one of the biggest ones of the prequels. I feel like each movie has its own. You've got Duel of the Fates for Phantom Menace. You've got Across the Stars in Attack of the Clones, and you've got Battle of the Brothers in Revenge of the Sith.
Or Heroes, if you like to get the song title correct.
Right.
Sure, that too.
He's a menace to everything in the sky.
Yeah.
Yes, birds too. Now we have an airplane reference. All right, so what do we got? We have Blazing Saddles, Airplane, and Men in Black tonight. This is going great. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a very simple decision as to why Revenge of the Sith is just such an easy answer for me on this, and it's because one of the things that I think John Williams does so well, and especially with the soundtracks for episodes 4 and 5, is that when you hear the piece of music, especially with episode 4 for obvious reasons, you could picture what's happening on the screen. They go hand in hand. It was such a greatest hits of like, I mean, the Cantina thing is an obvious one, but when you're you're in the Tatooine desert and stuff, you have that. You can picture exactly where you're at. And I think that Revenge of the Sith has those moments. Perfect example for me, the standout moment for me, Battle of the Heroes is obviously a great piece of music. It's what everybody goes to, but I don't remember what it's called, but for me, it's the piece of music that's playing at dusk when Anakin, runs to has gone to the temple and Padme's looking out the glass from her apartment and she's seeing the Jedi temple in flames, and it's that like kind of whine, and it's so dark. It's so dark and ominous, and when you combine that piece of music with the whole the view, like it's dusk, all of a sudden they're not in the middle of day, like night is falling, like that is such a metaphor. And when you combine that music with the sudden change in tone of just what you're seeing on the screen, it's such an amazingly powerful moment. And that piece of music always, I just picture that. And there's multiple moments in there, like, I mean, seriously, just the drums, like kum 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 kum. You're picturing, the starship, the little Jedi fighters flying over the top of the giant ship. So, for me, it's just, it stands out. It just glues itself to the movie better. And it's more memorable to me for that reason.
So okay. I am a big fan in general of when you take what and then add an element that is more, I don't want to say recognizable, but comforting into it, that you see life outside of a Jedi Academy, Star Wars in itself. You see real life, how the galaxy is operating outside there. And one of the reasons why I chose my Dexter's Diner t-shirt today is one of my favorite scenes in that movie is Dexter's Diner. It's quick. Okay. It's information, but it's that greasy spoon that we went and we hung out at. We all hung out at a greasy spoon. We got a drink. We got, information from our friends. It showed that Obi-Wan had friendships outside of the Jedi Order. It was just fun, even the library in itself was, very much obviously, set in a Jedi temple, but it was a library nevertheless. So it was real life again, invading in on our wars. That's one of the reasons I loved Andor, is that we saw real life around there. In Mandalorian season 3, you see what would have been, the TV show of the underworld of Coruscant. That was very much Blade Runner, Hong Kong inspiration-esque neon, which you saw the neon with the club. You saw life as Coruscant when it was hopping. And that's one of the reasons what I love so much about Clones is you got to see Coruscant for what it was.
I would agree with that. I that's something that I really enjoy as well. I will say this though, the Dexter's Diner scene is fun. That's a weird scene for me because while I enjoy it, a little bit of it, it gets sometimes when it gets too close to reality, I think it can come across as a little ham-fisted, and I think that kind of walks that line for me. But it's not to the point where I'm like, oh, I don't like that scene. It's just like, interesting. All right, so this cup of coffee, like this is like you said, greasy spoon. But it's still cool. But I will agree with you that seeing something that's I would use the word tangible, relatable, like you said, like, the Blade Runner type of, futuristic Tokyo look, for, down there in the bar where they can, they confront Zam Wessel. I like that. I think that's cool. So, the Dex's Diner thing, I think kind of plays into that. I think it grounds the movie a little bit, but again, it also for me goes back to the whole, it's a whodunit. And I think, it to make it a little more grounded in reality and say, oh, well, he's in this greasy spoon. Now he's in a shitty dive bar. Now Spencer's dumping himself out. I think that kind of adds to the story. And in terms of the Jedi library in the Jedi temple, that I love. That I totally love.
That was cool. I did like seeing the Jedi doing stuff more than going out and policing the galaxy with lightsabers.
Yes.
There is actually like a peaceful side and a thoughtful side, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good point. That adds kind of like a, again, it's one of the reasons I really like Attack of the Clones is that it does something different with the Jedi. They're like sleuths, like you said, they're not just out there policing the galaxy with a lightsaber. They're out there actually, doing something different. They're solving a mystery. It's, Scooby-Doo or whatever, like it's,
well,
it's
at least Obi-Wan is. At least Obi-Wan is. Everyone else is sitting on their dead ass doing nothing, being like, hey, let us know when you find something, bud.
Right.
Could I get like one or two more guys to help me? I don't know. It's a big galaxy. This sounds pretty important.
All right. Spencer is back. I thought we pissed you off for a second there.
Only every day.
Yeah. You were talking about, Kid Fisto again, so I got bumped.
That would be a first. That's no. We've never actually had to actually ban someone from the chat, have we? That's just
no.
Show. Yeah. So yeah, we're over. We're over. There you go. Mark Truex, more points for AJ. Let's just face it. Mark Truex is an AJ fan. There we go.
Yeah, I guess so. Cool. I got one supporter.
Look at this. My awesome stepson Dominic is tuned in. He says, I got a phone call, so I just missed the last few minutes, but the score during the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight scene on Mustafar is one of my favorites by far. Yeah, that's Battle of the Heroes. Or if you're AJ, it's Battle of the Brothers. So if it was Battle of the Brothers, would it be like more like Benny Hill sounding?
I think so.
Someone's got to edit that into the Benny Hill theme, into the Battle of Mustafar.
There has to be the Anakin Obi-Wan fight with the yakety sax over the top. There has to be.
Oh, here we go. Aaron has accepted the challenge. Aaron Waldron going to give us our smash up.
There we go.
Fantastic. But let's also talk about something else. Death sticks.
Okay.
Well, you got drug dealers in freaking Star Wars. Like,
all right, I'll give you that. I mean, there was space football in a way with robots too.
Yeah,
they were watching space football and they're betting on space football, so there was that.
And
I don't know. I think you're losing points here, Spencer. We're talking about that whole like transparency of sci-fi. Like the diner was very, very thinly veiled, and then we get a guy named Sleaze Bogano, death stick that looks like cigarettes. I mean, come on.
And you also have Anthony and Ahmed as background characters in that scene.
I was actually just about to mention that's bonus points for it, but AJ, I'm so glad you brought up that name because when we were talking about the bar, I wanted to mention that, like Sleaze Bagano. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, but Obi-Wan Kenobi is from Stu John. Like, really?
Yes, that was another.
Well, yeah, and what was the original name of the guy from episode 4? Was Slugface or something?
It was Yak Face, and there was
there was
Walrus
Yak
Man,
Face, and there was
Pandu Baba.
Yeah. So there was a whole bunch of nonsense from the beginning, but jeez, man.
I really think Sleaze Bagano.
There's a lot of cringe in there.
Cake. Yeah, Sleaze Bagano takes the cake. That is definitely. By the way, Aaron Waldron is clarifying his comment. He said challenge accepted, but he's accepting the challenge to get banned from the chat. That's hard to do. Ooh. We've been around since December of 2015, Aaron, and we have never banned anybody from the chat before. Granted,
viewership's not high enough to turn anybody away.
Yeah. You can shit on us all you want. We just want the views and the downloads.
Right.
We're whores for that stuff. We're shills and whores. What can we say? And that, instead of not boats and hoes, shills and whores. There's
like, comment, and subscribe. That's all we want.
Let's talk about this. What movie has a character that is so recognized that people could easily switch out a picture of Jesus Christ and put Obi-Wan Kenobi from Attack of the Clones and no one know the difference?
Well, I think a few people knew the difference. Are we allowed to blaspheme on this show? I don't think we've ever crossed that.
I think the Ahsoka series kind of has that nailed with Ezra, but
yeah, it's very true. Very true.
How many times have people taken that Jesus Kenobi and done memes and stuff before we saw the accurate depiction of Jesus Christ incarnate in Ezra Bridger in Ahsoka? But talk about clones.
That's true.
I mean, you're the one with a cross on the wall in the background, so you tell me.
It's a saber. Okay?
Oh my gosh, that is awesome, AJ. Well played. Very well played. I looked for a quick
comedy release tonight.
Yeah, AJ's banned from the chat. Exactly. I mean, shit, if you're mentioning the hair, I mean, look, the Jedi mullet. I mean, Obi-Wan looks like a goof in Attack of the Clones, but Anakin looks cool with it in episode 3. So, there you go. I will give a point to Revenge of the Sith for the Jedi mullet.
And
I'm gonna give a negative point for the Jedi mullet in Attack of the Clones because revisiting it in the flashbacks in Obi-Wan, yeesh.
Well, yeah.
Mark Truax, man, he says AJ is now my favorite. That is amazing.
Okay, did you guys watch the Attack of the Clones panel from Celebration 22?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the whole story about how Ewan got Daniel Logan to make that face when Ewan was at the door. He couldn't. So Daniel Logan couldn't get his mark. They said he wanted you to look at disgust when he opens the door. So he couldn't get it right. So finally, Ewan turned to Daniel and said, "Look at me as if I made a nasty fart."
Yep.
And we've heard that story many a time from Daniel, but to hear Ewan tell the story, and the same exact story, it was not embellished. Like, people might embellish a story. Ewan told it exactly like Daniel's been saying for years. To me, right then alone, that's another thing that you now know the fact that the look was like door open.
Like a total squealer.
Yeah. So,
we need sound drops on this.
I mean, come on, as the movie Chasing Amy says, it's always about dick and fart jokes.
Well, it is on this show. That's for damn sure.
Right.
Damn sure, man. Well, I mean, on a little bit of a serious point, I would say that I think what kind of takes away from Clones a little bit for people, and some people a lot, and it's not great in any of the 3 movies, I wouldn't say, but I think it's definitely better in episode 3 than it is episode 2 is the dialogue. I mean, that may be low-hanging fruit, one of our favorite terms on the show, but there is some stuff in Attack of the Clones that is just really kind of and it's it's not just it's just not the the romance scene. I still can't believe that made it through. How did when they're filming that, did someone not look at George Lucas and be like, okay, we have got to do something about this. We can't let this slide. I mean,
I think that's the critical fault of Clones is that you've got to buy into Anakin and Padme falling in love, and I'm sorry, those actors just didn't have the chops to pull it off. They also didn't have the script to pull it off.
Yeah, no, I'll throw that up there with Carrie Poppins, as some of the of Star Wars, the dialogue, especially on Naboo when they're out in the field, kind of sitting there, talking about, wherever the artists that Padme fell in love with back at camp. But at the same time, you got these situations that are like, okay, like you said, you have to believe that these guys love each other. You have to get to the marriage. You see Anakin, you see her become basically sterile when he goes off on killing the women and the children, and she's like, hey, you're not a kid anymore, I kind of like you. Yeah, he has no game until he admits that he killed all the Sand people. Then she basically swoons right in that scene right there.
I think what
women
that
love a
tells
bad
us-
boy.
Either that or Padme's got some weird fetishes. That's worse than a bad boy. Oh, you're a killer? She's one of those people that that fell in love with the Night Stalker when he was in prison and crap. Like he had a prison girlfriend. She's like, oh, I don't think you really did it.
Okay, so how about this? Oh my God, you kill Sand people? I love you. Wait, you turn against the Jedi and you kill the Jedi? You're going down a path. Bitch, you knew about this in the last movie.
Right, this is not a surprise.
Hello?
So I guess what we're actually learning is that Padme's a racist. You're turning on the Jedi, but you killed. That's not okay. But you killed Sand people. She hates Sand people. She's a racist.
Hello, red flag.
Right. That's him. That's Anakin. Like, wait a minute. You were cool with me killing all the Sand people, but all of a sudden turning on the Jedi so bad. Whatever, Adolf.
Ooh.
Wow.
And that's where Star Wars really got woke and went off the tracks.
And that's where JT gets bumped from the chat.
Exactly.
Is this where we remind everybody that the views of the Nerf Herder Council don't necessarily represent the views of Virtual Cantina Network?
I need another bumper for that when something heinous goes off the rails like that.
Hey,
oh man,
the views of the Virtual Cantina don't reflect the views of the Virtual Cantina. Viewer discretion.
There you go. See, when you jump on our show, Spencer, to a dark place, this will lead us. you get to do the off-color version of your show. But
but you see,
So I do want to say, AJ, to something you just said. Like you said, they didn't have the chops to pull it off. I don't think that that's the case. I think they had amazing chops because they actually had to get through that dialogue, and we knew it was cringeworthy, but it wasn't like B movie, C movie, something you rent for 99 cents on Amazon, on bad. I mean, they got through it. It's just, it was the dialogue itself. Like, how do you, I think that was the ultimate definition of, what they used to say about, that infamous quote about the original trilogy when, the main three actors would tell George Lucas, like, you can write this stuff, but you can't say it. I didn't really hear any crappy dialogue like that in the original trilogy, but the love scenes in the prequels, like, oh, geez, oh, Pete's.
George needed a script doctor for sure.
Yeah. Well, and convert, as much as it's, it's worse in Attack of the Clones for me, it is still crappy in Revenge of the Sith, at least because, when they had that scene in Padme's apartment when she's on the balcony, and I still don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Ooh.
You are so beautiful. Oh, maybe it's just because you're so in love. No, it's because I'm so in love with you. So love has blinded you?
That's when we call Larry Kassan and say, Larry, hey, I need you to come back, which they did for Solo.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like, that was so bad. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? Like, I don't get it. Like, it's I to this day I watch that scene. I try and figure out like what am I missing here? Like I don't understand. Yeah. Well, John Galgano, true, says it's also been said that Lucas doesn't give good direction. Yeah. Faster, more intense. That's all they really talk about.
Right.
I mean, that's yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yes. Well, but again, if he doesn't direct well, the source material was stronger dialogue wise for the original trilogy, so that's why it doesn't stand out as much.
Or as our program director of the virtual Cantina will say, it's like poetry. It sucks. No.
I can't argue with him there. I'm not the biggest fan. I am not the biggest fan, but wow. Well, this was fun, Spencer. I appreciate you coming on and doing this. So, final thoughts.
Final thoughts is that, listen, I'm not coming on here to change anybody's mind. You know, I still stand by what I said. I prefer clones. Doesn't mean I don't love Sith and have the utmost respect for that as a film. But I have a strong affinity personally for the second film of all the Star Wars movies when it comes to the trilogy, whether it be Empire, Last Jedi, and Clones. And it's more along the lines that I'm a fan of the whys. I want to know why we're getting to someplace. We got a lot of stuff and a lot of meat of where Sith was because of clones. And now it's this Clone Wars and the prequel trilogy are getting their dues finally, because 20 years and the parents are the kids of the prequel era at this time, and that's where the meat and potatoes of Star Wars is going to be for the next 10 or 15 years until Filoni, until they start doing more with the sequel trilogy. So I'm excited about the future of Star Wars, but right now the Clone Wars is really where people are getting the most excited about.
I would agree with that. My final thoughts, I'm going to say, this was a great conversation, man. It's, again, like you said, this is not to change anybody's mind or anything, but, it's Attack of the Clones is criminally underrated. You brought up some great stuff tonight that I hadn't thought of in a while, which is awesome. But for me, Revenge of the Sith holds a very special place in my heart as my favorite Star Wars movie. I've said many times on the show that I have an emotional connection to this one that's a little deeper than some of the other ones. The only other one I can really liken it to is Return of the Jedi, because that was the first movie that AJ and I saw together in the theater, first Star Wars movie back in May of 1983. And the next time we saw a Star Wars movie together in the theater, on opening night was Revenge of the Sith. And it had built up in my mind so much that, how's this going to end? How are they going to play this thing out? Oh my God, I'm doing this with AJ. This is so cool. Like back then I was 7 years old. He was 4. And now here we are, 22 years later. And it's like, it's just, to be able to share that again. So I have that connection to the movie. So I'm a little biased for that reason, but I will just always love the emotion of the movie because like I said earlier, Dominic, damn you. I always, just find myself so involved in the story on a very base level, just such a heartfelt level. And I never want Anakin to turn. And when the whole thing starts going to hell in a handbasket, like part of me is sad and you see where the galaxy is going. And I just think the movie carries so much emotional weight while at the same time looking incredible, sounding incredible, and having so much incredible action to it. It's just a perfect, to me, it's like a perfect Star Wars movie. It's everything I love about Star Wars in this nice little 2 hour and 20-minute package. And, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was awesome. So, all right, I got to get this in here. My damn stepson, like, right at the end of the show. He says, how about when Padme takes a 20-foot crotch shot off that pole right onto the back of that animal beast? I don't know what it's called. After she got freed, then just goes on with her day. I get it's a Star Wars movie. That was kind of just out there for me. Kind of one of those, all right, come on now, moments and clones, being that she's just a quote-unquote normal person. Dude, Dom, it's Star Wars. You don't have to... People take crotch shots all the time in Star Wars. You just don't... You move on. They wear padding. They have cups. That's a Star Wars thing, dude.
And don't forget, in Sith, she dies of sadness.
Yes. Okay. Damn it! Why you got to shoot me down?
I feel like this whole debate is far from over because we have yet to actually get into like the shit posting where we just take shots at the other movie.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stuff to make fun of in both of them.
So AJ's biggest fan, Mark Truex, says, great show, JT and Spencer. Thanks, man. AJ, great job keeping them both in check. Now it's time to go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com to get some swag. Yes, I agree. It is all customizable. And a little birdie told me that there's a chance we might have our custom shirt back up if we can figure out how to get around the copyright strike. And we will have Chewbacca's full family on the t-shirt. Chewie, Mala, Lumpy, Itchy, Rashy, Discharge, and Crappy. So we're hoping to get that back up as soon as
put it in Arabesh.
Right. Well, I think it was because AJ put like the outline of a Wookiee on there, and it looked a little too close to Chewbacca. But I think AJ, you have one, and I think our good buddy Joseph.
It also might be how you meta tagged it because we've had things that had looked like IP, and we meta tagged it to hell, and it got pulled because of the meta tag.
Maybe that's it, AJ.
Could be. Yeah.
Maybe that.
Yeah, I emailed back against it to ask for more details and gotten no reply. So
right, I got nothing.
I guess we're not their favorite people.
Of course.
I'll just upload it again and see if it gets taken down. It worked last time.
We have our virtual Cantina Rebels logo in 2 different colors up there, but we got hit with copyright infringement for the blue one, but the red one's still up there. It's the same damn logo.
That's because the Sith run the site.
Right.
That's weird. Huh. Okay. Well. All right, Spencer. Well, I'm going to put you back in the green room. We'll talk in a second here after we close up shop. But thank you once again for coming onto the show. One of the things that we do every time we close up shop here is we go over the upcoming VCN schedule. So I'm going to put that on the screen. I will let you read the Virtual Cantina Network upcoming schedule. So why don't you tell these fine people what is coming in the next few days on the Virtual Cantina Network?
Absolutely. So as you can see, this was the director's cut version of it. Why JT proved Spencer wrong. Bogus. Damn you, Jeff Jeffrey.
I love it.
But tomorrow night we are in our Ahsoka Revisited show right now. We are watching part 3. There is not going to be a guest with us, but if you go back to the Virtual Cantina Network and watch the last 2 weeks, we had ILM legend Hal Hickel, who's the animation supervisor for Ahsoka and Mandalorian, on with us talking about the shows, as well as Chris Bartlett last week. So we no guests this week, but we're very excited about going back and rewatching Ahsoka. And then Jedi Archives this Sunday is talking about the High Republic Adventures #1. Jedi Archives is a comic book show talking mostly about High Republic, but also some spin-off type show comics as well. Some really great programming. Rebels Revisited next week is coming back with Mark and Ashley, as well as Stars of the Galaxy. We'll be back next Wednesday with another new episode. So very excited about everything that's going on with the Virtual Cantina Network. And also want to point out that we have a guest next Thursday with Don Deininger, who is basically Filoni's go-to Rhodian and works for Legacy Effects. Going to be joining us on Ahsoka Revisited next week.
All right. It would help if I unmuted myself, but yeah. Spencer, thank you for all that awesome content there and the updates. And once again, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it. This was a great conversation. And like I said, I'll put you in the green room here. We'll talk in a second here once we close up shop.
Guys, thank you so much for having me on the show again. It's been a pleasure.
Anytime, man. So there goes Spencer AJ, one of our very best Star Wars buddies. Obviously, I'm still sorry for dropping a Hogan leg on him when he was trying to sleep for a flight at the last celebration. But alcohol does crazy things to us at Celebration. What can we say? That was not very couth on my part. So Spencer, I know you're back there. I apologize. But thank you for moderating. I appreciate it, AJ. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Aaron Waldron, excuse me. Said thanks for a great time. Thanks for all the great content. Loved it. You're very welcome. Much appreciated, man. Thanks for tuning in. Horsehead, Jeff Caffrey. Hal was awesome. He was awesome. I caught part of that. It was definitely great. If you guys go watch the replay on the Virtual Cantina Network, Hal was awesome. A lot of great content there. But yeah, to all you guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Kale McLeish, always good to see you. Horsehead, Aaron, I can't believe my stepson tuned in. Dominic, John Galgano, thank you. Again, we love you guys, man. We appreciate you guys jumping in the chat. We love when you guys drive the conversation and whatnot. We are going to be right back here in 2 weeks on Wednesday, January 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And AJ, before we get out of here, why don't you tell these fine people about our Patreon page?
Sure. If you go to patreon.com/NHC podcast, that's where we're doing all of our audio uploads currently, and dropping any announcements about maybe some merch uploads that might get taken down a few days later. So you're going to want to go to that page. You don't actually have to pay any money to see our posts. If you do pay money, though, you do get additional perks. So you can check out and subscribe to our Patreon feed for no money whatsoever. For the low price of $1 a month, we are happy to go ahead and give you a shout out on the broadcast here, such as our friends Mark Thrasher and Joseph Wren. You can also go to the $3 level, and that will get you early audio access to these episodes as well. Those are also through Patreon. They will notify you when those drop. So instead of waiting until the Sunday after we broadcast, you'll get those on the Friday after we broadcast instead. And like I said, that's at the $3 level. We got plenty more stuff planned to come up too as well. So we're going to be posting more frequently on the Patreon, asking for more input from you guys, see what you guys want to have us do. We've got plenty of ideas for bonus shows, maybe commentary tracks, more Lego Live builds, things like that. Maybe even a game night. Keep talking about Cards Against Star Wars. We'll probably bust that out again sometime. What do you think, man? I completely agree with that. And also Star Wars Trivial Pursuit. That'd be a good one as well. Exactly. So we've got a lot of cool stuff planned, and Patreon is where we do our interacting to find out from you what you guys want to see from us and what you think of our ideas. So without further ado, JT, do you have anything else to add tonight? I do not, except to say that once again, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. If you are watching on YouTube, click the like button, click the subscribe button, and smash that notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. As Mark Truax, thank you very much for doing so, pimped out for us. If you'd like to get customizable Nerf Herder Council swag, go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. There are 4 logos, I believe, AJ, 4 or 5 logos to choose from, and you can get that 5 logos to choose from, 5 different Nerf Herder Council logos that you can put on any number of pieces of merch in any color scheme that you want to mix and match. So that's a good way to represent the show. The stuff looks great. AJ's done a great job on those logos, so go there. And if you'd like to get some Virtual Cantina Network swag, just go to tpublic.com/user/Virtual Cantina. As I said, we'll be right back here at all of these fine locations in 2 weeks on Wednesday, January 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, I am your host, JT at Dog Pound Jedi. He is AJ at Drake Adams 579. And there's a comment on the screen just for you, John, to wrap up the show. Kale, I'm not sending you the knife that your father is buying and shipping to America. We will catch you next time, guys. See ya.
Bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my Nerf herder.
You my Nerf herder.